In this video, I'm going to go over the simplifying, multiplying, and dividing rationals exit slip. So the first question said, state the excluded values. So remember, an excluded value is any number that makes our denominator equal to 0. And we do not want our denominator to equal 0. So the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to factor the denominator. So what multiplies to 14 but adds to -9 are -7 and -2. So to figure out what the excluded values are, I'm going to set each of these equal to 0 and then solve. So one of my excluded values is 7 and one of my excluded values is 2. So we should have checked 2 and 7 because those are the two values that would make my denominator equal to 0, and I do not want it to equal to 0. In question 2, we're going to simplify. So anytime it says simplify, the first thing you want to do is factor. So I'm going to start off by factoring the numerator, and now my numerator is a difference of squares. So I'm going to factor that into x plus 9, x minus 9. And then my denominator is a trinomial, so I'm going to think about what multiplies to 27 and adds to -12. So that's going to be -9 and -3. Once it's factored, I can look to simplify by dividing. So I can divide x minus 9 with x minus 9. And that'll give me x plus 9 over x minus 3. So the answer would be answer choice B. In number 3, we're still simplifying, but we're now multiplying. So my first step is still going to be the same. I'm still looking to factor. So I'm going to factor this numerator by thinking about what multiplies to 16 but adds to 8. And that's going to be 4 and 4. And then the denominator is going to stay x. My numerator on this side is going to stay 4x. And then I'm going to factor this difference of squares. So that difference of squares will factor into x plus 4, x minus 4. Now that everything's factored, I can look to divide if there's anything in the same in the numerator and the denominator. So I have an x plus 4 and an x plus 4 I can divide. I have an x and an x I can divide. So what's going to happen is I'm going to end up having 4 times x plus 4 all over x minus 4. So that's option B. In number 4, it's a similar problem. We're still multiplying. It's just going to involve a little bit more factoring. So the first thing I'm going to do is factor the numerator here. So I got to think about what multiplies to 6 but adds to 5. And that's going to be 3 and 2. What multiplies to 8 but adds to 6 is going to be 4 and 2. X minus 8 will stay x minus 8. Then I'm going to think about what multiplies to 3 but adds to 4, and that'd be 3 and 1. Once I factor everything, I'm going to work on simplifying by dividing. So I'm going to divide x plus 3 and x plus 3. I'm going to divide x plus 2 and x plus 2. So what that's going to leave me with is an x minus 8 on top and an x plus 4, x plus 1 on the bottom, which will be answer choice C. Our last problem is a division problem. So remember with these, we need to stay, change, flip. So the first fraction is going to stay the same. And actually, I already factored this denominator for you to make this a little bit easier. But I need to factor this guy. So I have 2x squared plus 9x plus 4. My first step is to multiply a times c, so I get 8. So it's got to multiply to 8 and add to 9, so that's going to be 1 and 8. So now I'm going to split the middle. And that's going to get me 4 terms. So now I can factor by grouping. So I'm going to take an x out of this group and a 4 out of this group. And so my final factored form will be 2x plus 1 and x plus 4. So that'll be my numerator here. 2x plus 1, x plus 4. Now I need to flip this one and flip the numerator and denominator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have x squared minus 9, well, that factors into x plus 3, x minus 3. But since I'm flipping that fraction, it's going to go to the top. And then I need to factor this trinomial, but that's going to end up going in the bottom after it's factored. So let's start by factoring this. So 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, but it's got to add to negative 5. So that's going to be negative 6 and 1. So I'm going to split my middle. So negative 6x plus 1x. Bring down the last term, bring down the first term. Now we're going to factor by grouping. So I'm going to take and add 2x. I'm going to get x minus 3. And then my GCF of the second one is just going to be a 1. So this will factor into 2x plus 1, x minus 3. So this one's challenging because it's division and we have to remember to stay, change, flip. But we also have a little bit more in-depth factoring. So now that I factor this, I'm going to look to see what will divide. And it'll divide if I have that same binomial in the numerator or on the top and in the denominator on the bottom. So I have 2x plus 1 and 2x plus 1. I have x minus 3 and x minus 3. I have x plus 3 and x plus 3. It's actually a lot simplified. So my final answer is going to be x plus 4 over 2x minus 7. So x plus 4 over 2x minus 7. So that's option A. If you need any more help with these types of problems, please let me know.